Hey, 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 and welcome back to the branding behind Alex Hormozi's $100 million launch. My name is Cynthia Akita, and I'm your brand strategist, designer, and educator here at the Design Firmacy, your number one business pharmacy. And we are continuing our series about Alex Hormozi's amazing launch. And we're hitting our third brand vital, which is brand persona. So, Alex was casual, he was direct, and even a little bit sarcastic, but he was totally credible throughout this launch. Now, based on his persona, Hormozi is both a rebel and a professor, and I'm going to explain to you why that mix makes his brand persona so magnetic. All right, so let's get into it. Number one, his voice. So, again, it is direct, it is very casual, like he's just having a conversation with folks. And so because his style is just so blunt, laced with humor, you know, again, he's casual. It's not polished, it's not that corporate talk. It's approachable and it's real. And that speaks directly to who he is, right? He's not building, his persona is literally himself. He doesn't have to pretend to be anybody else. He doesn't have to try to dress like anybody else. Again, the first point is voice. So let me just stick to voice. The sound of his voice. Again, it is casual. It has some humor. It's approachable. It's real. And that's what makes people like him. Although some people don't like him as much. Again, he stays true to who he is through his voice. The second thing is his archetype. And so I mentioned earlier that he has a blend of, the educator, where he focuses on data and frameworks, and then a bit of, a rebel persona or archetype. Now, because he embodies this archetypes, with an educator, he's teaching with clarity. People understand what he's actually saying. He's not speaking in a way where it makes you feel dumb because you're not in his world, or maybe you don't understand things the way that he does, right? But because he's also blended with a little bit of that rebel vibe, he's defying, the stereotypes of what a guru would typically be like. He's literally just himself. The combination of both archetypes makes his voice authoritative, although it's not so polished, but it makes it even more relatable, so the fact that he doesn't have a suit on and all of that, which is my next point, I'm kind of jumping ahead, but even though he doesn't have a suit on, that what comes out of his mouth is actually factual and helpful. It just comes out with a relatable voice. Number three, which I kind of jumped into, is he chooses authenticity over being polished. And so I remember when I was watching, and I forgot to mention, I'm very new to Alex Hormozi. And so I have not been following him. The time I started following him was when he started launching this book. So maybe about a month or so before the launch, I started following him. And so I had always seen him beforehand with, the shorts, the tank top, and I don't know if it's like a denim, the shirt that he typically has on top sometimes. And then like the hat and then the nose strip. I would always see that, but I just didn't really take him seriously because I didn't know anything about him. And, he just didn't seem like someone I was interested in because I had only known about him from the school platform. So I didn't even know he had like a whole business outside of that, a whole mega business, right? And so when I saw him on screen for his launch, he was literally wearing the exact same thing. And I don't know why I thought he would wear anything different from that. That's literally his brand, right? I know someone who would have spent that much and even had, the Guinness World Record judges in his presence probably would have, worn a suit or something, to commemorate how serious the event is. Like, this is a big deal, right? But he came out as if he was just like going to the gym or going to hang out with his boys. And, we can't fault him for that because that has been his presence. That has been his brand. And so he was very authentic with that. some of us may view it as laziness, but it's very deliberate because it reminds his audience that he's not trying to impress anybody. His goal is to teach, is to educate. He's going back to that mission of educating every entrepreneur. And if dressing up in a suit prevents him from doing that, then he does not need to do that. All right. Next is he had a lot of memorable metaphors. So saying phrases like cash flow is the engine, everything else is aerodynamics. It tends to stick with people because it gives a visual representation of what he is saying, but it's also very practical, it's easy to remember, and that type of language really amplifies his personality. I know throughout the event, he was trying to make sure that he didn't use any foul language. I know foul language is a part of his voice and his personality, but during the launch, because he wanted a particular type of rating on YouTube, he wanted to be very careful about that. Again, because he wants the video to be accessible to everybody. Again, using those metaphors and that descriptive language really helped people understand whatever it was that he was teaching without it going over somebody's head. Now, the overall lesson is that is that your brand persona has nothing to do with being perfect, but it has to do with being authentic. It's about being consistently human and being distinct. It's about being different from everybody else. And so it's not about sounding professional. And I know generally that's been the stereotype. I know, for example, LinkedIn, for the longest time, we really thought LinkedIn was just that uptight version of social media where you have to go on and dot your I's and cross your T's and speak as if you're in a boardroom. Although they've debunked all of that, in the same manner, your persona is not about being that LinkedIn person. It's not about sounding a certain way. It's about sounding like you and being authentic to who you are. And so when you consistently show up in a way that only you can, because it's exclusive to you, your voice can then become your signature. All right. So I hope that was helpful for you guys. Your brand voice, all in all, your brand voice should sound like you. It's not meant to be a copy and paste version of every other business that's in your industry. So if you believe that your content feels flat or that it's disconnected, that means your audience is already tuning you out, and there's no fun in that. There's no growth in that. And so the Brand Vitals assessment will pinpoint whether your persona is strong enough to create connection or if you're just blending in with the noise. So when your voice is right, people, they don't just hear you, they feel you. That emotional attachment will start to form, which leads to loyalty. Loyalty leads to more sales. All right. So go ahead and take the Brand Vitals assessment by visiting mybrandvitals.com and find out. I'll catch you in the next video. Bye.